So the first action on D-Day occurred not long after midnight, south of the Sword Beach, which was the British sector, right at this bridge, codenamed Pegasus Bridge. In that area, right in the middle there, just to the south of that bridge, was where the landings of the British gliders, airborne troops and gliders, happened, right across the river here. Kind of an unusual design for this drawbridge here. Not that big. It looks bigger in the movies, but it's really not that far across this river here. But you see gun emplacements in the foreground. Germans held this position. Gliders landed right on the other side of those flags there behind, in that pathway is where the gliders touched down. Literally right on top of the bridge. Very brave airborne troops disembarked and immediately engaged in the firefight. You can see this is actually the landing spot of the gliders, not far from the bridge at all. So the first casualties of D-Day happened here, and the first houses to be liberated are right across the bridge here. Sword Beach is actually located in a very nice resort area. It is today, and it was back then even, just not unlike what you'd find in Atlantic beach communities in the U.S. So nice houses and then a very wide beach. Imagine this all covered with obstacles for the British troops to get across. Difficult task on D-Day. This is the view from an observation post the Germans occupied. This 5-story bunker gave them a good view of the harbor via this telescope and the British troops coming ashore. It's a museum now. It's full of lots of authentic weapons and equipment and uniforms from the era. They're trying to recreate what life was like inside the bunker here. Not a fun place to be, very cramped, not a lot of fresh air, and just an overall very claustrophobic feeling being in here. But if you're getting bombarded, probably the best place to be. Some crazy looking mannequins in authentic uniforms in here as well. And outside the museum there's some British and American armored vehicles from the era. There's actually a Higgins boat which was used in Saving Private Ryan. This is an authentic boat. You might recognize it. The museum itself, see just a giant 5-story concrete bunker, and it very much feels like it when you're inside. Outside, right across the street from this artillery piece, some very nice houses, nice beach community. This is the town of Cannes, which is south of Sword Beach. This is a fortress built by William the Conqueror about 1,000 years ago, and on the foreground a memorial to the British troops. This town was a hard fight. All of those buildings you see around the cathedral were all destroyed and rebuilt after the war. The cathedral itself sustained some pretty good damage, but did survive pretty well intact and was rebuilt from the damaged pieces. Very nice cathedral. Juno Beach is where the Canadians landed, just to the west of Sword Beach, and these were the second heaviest casualties sustained on D-Day. Again, kind of a resort area, very nice community, and on the beach itself, not quite as wide as the other beaches we've seen. Again, the tide was a little bit higher here, but a nice beach. Clear blue water, shallow, not much wave action, but again heavily fortified by the Germans. Equipment is still here. Obstacles that were on the beach still remain. So a hard fight for the Canadians coming ashore here. A nice museum right next to the beach with some authentic equipment and uniforms, and a memorial to the Canadian troops that lost their lives here. So Gold Beach is west of Juno Beach. Again, very nice town right on top of the beach itself, the landing area. It's a nice little resort town called Arromanches. Not too far is an observation point bunker for the Germans that they use. If you're familiar with the movie The Longest Day, there's a German officer named Pluskat who was inside this bunker and screaming about the invasion. Nobody was believing him. He was looking right through this port here when they filmed that in this bunker. So this is where they looked over the ocean, and that behind it were the actual gun emplacements that received the firing orders, and they could strike several miles out to sea with these large cannon rifled, as you see. Some of these did sustain pretty good hits. They're very heavily fortified, reinforced concrete, several feet thick, but they were destroyed, a couple of them. So the town of Arremont's right down the road. A memorial here at the top of the hill. And in the foreground here, an artillery piece right on the beach. These are the mulberries. So if you've heard of these, Churchill's idea to create artificial harbors so that they didn't need to take and fight over deep water ports. They could make their own harbors and come ashore where they wanted here on Gold Beach. So the harbors are still, the mulberries are still there out in the water and on the beach, and you can get up close to a few of them. So this is the view the British would have had at Gold Beach as they came ashore, and this is the road inland to the wharf for them.